Your prospects and your customers are on AI tools looking up information. They're using tools like ChatGPT and Gemini and even Google's AI search to find information about the problems they're facing and trying to find solutions to those problems. This means that every business today needs to have an AI visibility strategy. They need to show up in prompts as a potential result or a next step for that user to take when they're using an AI chat tool. And in today's video, I'm going to share 5 ways you can increase the AI visibility for your organization. If you like today's video, be sure to like it, smash that subscribe button so you don't miss future content. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. We personally respond to them and we love talking to you. More and more internet users are turning to AI tools to find information. They're doing this instead of using things like Google search or traditional Bing search, or even things like social media. AI tools are more and more taking that slice of the pie when it comes to people looking for information about problems they have, seeking out solutions, and seeking out vendors. This means every business needs to have an AI visibility strategy, understanding that their users, or their prospects, I should say, are on these AI tools doing research, and you have to have your brand and your company show up as a potential solution. So how do you do that, right? That's the big question. And this is a brand new field in the world of digital marketing and content creation. So we're all kind of learning how to do this together. But now, over time, people have found ways to start showing up and start increasing that AI visibility. And in today's video, I'm going to walk through the top 5 ways I recommend our clients start to raise that visibility for their business. So strategy number 1 is foundational SEO. So what I mean by this is that traditional SEO tactics are actually the most foundational, most basic principle thing you can do to raise your AI visibility. And some people in the SEO community, or AI community, I should even say too, will even point blank say there's not much difference between traditional SEO and AEO or GEO. In other words, a lot of the same tactics that helps you show up for Google searches will help you show up in things like ChatGPT or Google Gemini. But of course, there's tons of different things you can do when it comes to search engine optimization. So as far as AI visibility, let's talk about the basics. Number 1, making sure your website is crawlable by robots, meaning your website is well developed and has the correct site structure so that when Google robots or ChatGPT and OpenAI robots, when they go through your website, they can find the pages, scan the content, and then index it. This is more of a technical thing, but if your website is built by a quality developer, this should be in place already. The next part of good foundational SEO is user experience. So is your website mobile friendly? Does it load quickly? Is it secure? These are all things that, again, Google with Gemini or their AI search, or OpenAI with ChatGPT, if they're going to send their users off to a third-party website to get information, they want to make sure the user experience is good. So you need to make sure that the user experience on your website matches a good quality experience that they'd want to send their users to, so it doesn't reflect poorly back on their service, if that makes sense. The best way to check this is simply to run your website through a mobile test or run it through some speed tests, see benchmark-wise if it is industry standard or better. The next thing is something called backlinks. So when you look at the how robots, again, we talked about that earlier with Google and OpenAI and the little crawlers, the way they go through the internet is something called backlinks. So when another website links to you or when you link to another website, that shows authority. The more links you have coming to your website from quality websites, the higher authority you have. And vice versa, when you link to other websites, you help pass authority back to them. So for good traditional SEO, you want to get as many good quality backlinks as possible. And this will of course then spill over into good AI visibility as well, because those AI tools will also find that if there's good backlinks, more likely than not, that is a good quality, reputable website to send people to. And then finally is on-site keyword usage. So if you want to be found for something, you want to make sure that your web pages, your headings, your titles, they use good keywords in there that are relevant for potential prompts, or again in traditional SEO, and for the queries people have, you want to make sure that your keyword usage matches what your users typically type in. Again, this is all basic traditional SEO stuff, but it is the foundation for good AI visibility. Okay, so tip number 2 for AI visibility is good positioning content. What is that? That is on your website, the who you are and what you do. It's your about pages, it's your bio pages, it's your product pages, your services pages. All of these are good positioning and brand messaging content that'll help you show up correctly for AI visibility. What we are seeing again and again when doing AI visibility audits for our clients is that some of the most important pages on their website are the pages that talk about who they are and what they do. Because when you search, what does so-and-so firm do, or who works at so-and-so firm, or what does this person do, it typically pulls from the website content. That's all that positioning content on your website that, again, talks about what you do and who you are. And if it's incorrect or not very filled out, it shows up as AI results that aren't very accurate. So if you go to a tool like Google Gemini or ChatGPT and type in who is your name or what does X business do, most of the time it's coming from that website content. And again, if it's incorrect or not very filled out, not only will it not be right for the user, but they might just skip over you altogether and pull content from some other website. So for good, strong AI visibility that leads back to your website, you want to make sure that content lives on your website, it's well written, and follows good SEO best practices. Okay, so at this point, you have good foundational SEO, you have good positioning content, and so now tip number 3 for good AI visibility is good expertise content. A lot of traditional SEO and way people were found before is instructional or how-to blog posts and things like that. But of course, now if you go into something like ChatGPT and type in how to do Y, most of the time it'll answer it right there in the actual results of the prompt. So for AI visibility, the best kind of content is actually content that is specific to your expertise, talking about your specific experience and some opinion content. Because tools like ChatGPT or Google Gemini, they're not very good at telling specific stories about what they did, obviously, because they're just aggregating data, aggregating content, and they also don't typically have very strong opinions. So when you ask for opinions on things or you're seeking out expertise on things, oftentimes the answers and the prompts there will actually show other websites. And if you have a blog article or if you have a YouTube video, all of that content might show up in the answers for those prompts. So what this typically means is when you're doing blog posts or you're creating content, instead of just focusing on how-to content, which I personally think is still important to have on your website and is part of your content strategy, but I also want you to think about what kind of opinions you can share, how you can talk about specific experience that lend to your expertise. The more you can talk about those types of things, the more likely you'll increase that AI visibility. All right, so tip number 4 is the first time we're talking about things off of your website, and that is brand mentions. You want to show up on other websites, other social media platforms, on other people's platforms where they're talking about you and your brand. So this is typically good thought leadership content and good press relation content. You want to be showing up on other people's podcasts. You want to be showing up on webinars. You want to be doing events. All of this stuff will show up in the world of AI as, again, lending to your credibility and lending to your expertise, but it'll also show up for specific results around certain topics. So what I mean by that is if someone searches for someone of your expertise, of course your website's there, but typically these AI tools are not going to send more generic prompts to a specific company's website. However, if there's podcasts or long-form interviews or things like that, where you are the expert on that show, they might show up as a potential result. Talking with other people who are in this AI visibility space as well, this is something we see again and again with our clients. The ones who are most active when it comes to that brand mention thing, so again, YouTube videos, podcasts, on social media, creating content there, these people have the most AI visibility. Specifically, we're talking about prompts mentioned in AI that are not about a specific business, but more general to a topic or problems or certain current events. That is where these brand mentions are super important. So for here, I encourage you, if you're not already doing it, if you're just creating content on your website but nowhere else, I strongly encourage you to at the very least get very active on social media platforms that are published publicly, but also think about partnerships you can have or people you can work with in your industry or vendors or potentially maybe even clients. Start talking with them, creating content together in a collaborative fashion, and start publishing online. Okay, and the 5th strategy is not really a strategy to increase your visibility. It's just something you should be doing as you're going about an AI visibility process.
All right, do tell.
So tip number 5 is to actually run some test prompts. So go into multiple different platforms. I highly, highly, highly recommend using Google's AI tool. So not Gemini, but google.com/AI. This is the AI chatbot / results page that will start showing up in place of traditional search. So go to Google's AI, type in who is my name or what is my business and what does it do. Start to see what kind of results show up when you Google yourself or your business. Repeat the same process on other platforms like ChatGPT or in Claude. Start to Google yourself, as you could say, except this is more of a AI prompt yourself, right? See what shows up, see what pages are linked, and then, of course, when you're doing this process, it should help you understand what is being indexed and what they understand about you. This is super important because then you say, if this information is incorrect, or if this is not the information I want to show as an answer, then try and find those source files. Maybe it's an about page on your website. Maybe it's a LinkedIn profile. Maybe it's some sort of piece of content you created for some sort of industry magazine. Start to look at the source files and then start to update those as much as you can. I find these test prompts as some of the best ways to get insights as far as how these AI tools truly understand you, your business, and your industry.
Getting a peek behind the curtain.
Of course, you can even go a step further and say, let's say you're in accounting, right? Like you can type into ChatGPT, I'm looking for an accountant in the Madison, Wisconsin area. Who are the best providers? Start to see what shows up. Go to their websites, check out their content. I bet what you'll find, if you're not already one of those top providers that are listed, is the ones that are showing up are doing those first 4 strategies we already talked about. Long story short, test out those prompts, see what shows up, and optimize going forward. Okay, so to recap, the top 5 strategies I have to raise your online AI visibility is number 1, good foundational SEO. Number 2, good positioning content. Number 3, good expertise or opinion content. Number 4, do some good brand mentions. And finally, number 5, run test prompts, see what shows up, and keep optimizing from there. Let me know in the comments what you're seeing from an AI visibility side of things. If you have questions, leave them below. If you want help for your business, reach out to us. This is the work that we do. We offer AI visibility audits, and we can help coach you through the process of showing up more online as a trusted authority.